here's what we've got so far. My idea is, I was thinking, what's the most prevalent thing in most clickbait, attention-grabbing thumbnails? It's the face, right? It's that stupid face, that, face. And I think that's because people identify with faces the most. So what I've done is I've tried to incorporate as many screaming faces into the thumbnail painting of this video today as is possible. So what we've got here is many totems with screaming faces on every side. We've got a screaming character in the middle who's going to be very reminiscent and inspired by the original Scream painting. Now, for those of you who don't know the rules of speed painting, the idea is to get everything in as much as possible, the whole composition in, everything that you want to do as fast as possible, and that's the blocking. Maybe we make this figure in the middle more orangey. The sky should be very, very purple indeed. Purple is kind of like a space-like colour as well, isn't it? The totems, now the totems should be kind of earthy. Green is an earthy colour, and I think for the totems I'm going to make them overall a bit less saturated than the rest of the stuff. Maybe more of a navy green as it gets closer, and a more emerald green as it's further away. I'm not sure. We're really just trying to come up with patterns. I think as these totems, they're basically like the ground material, aren't they? I think they should get darker and bluer. We're going to have the slider go further for it to look natural, I feel like. They should really look a bit less saturated as they get darker, I feel. Just making the floor a little bit darker now. See, it's all just kind of us glazing these colours in, and that's what makes speed painting so easy, I feel like, is the heavy reliance on glazing. A lot of speed painting is done, well, with the round brush, and this is basically my round brush. It's exactly the same as the round brush in that it stays the same size, and the only thing that changes is the opacity changes with pen pressure, and then I change the size of the brush as and when I need. And that's a good way to do it because you can kind of master the blocking in and you can get the glazing that you need. Okay, now we really want a rim light. We would just see some kind of, it's not an outline, but it's similar to it. It's an outline that kind of fades into the model that the rim light is on. And we might be able to make it darker and redder on the inside of this guy's silhouette, especially around his chest, and that will make him stand out even more, I feel like. So what I'm actually thinking is, when we zoom out on the thumbnail, I think this main focus is a little bit too small and it's a bit confused with the water. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm just going to cheat and use the features that I have in digital art, which is part of what makes it so malleable and, like I say, so good for beginners and people learning. Oh, that's not what I meant to do. And actually just Photoshop it when we look at the overall image. This center attraction is more obvious. You've just got to remember at the moment, we're very much still figuring out what we actually want in the image. So that's why I'm trying not to, and that's the thing as well, you've really got to try not to put too much detail in these stages, because you've got to keep it, well, malleable in it. You've got to keep it so that you can, make whatever big changes you need to make. As soon as you stop yourself from making big changes too early, you'll end up kind of regretting it in the later stages, and I've learned that the hard way a lot of times. I want it to feel like these things have like really wide open eyes. Feels like their eyes are kind of closed right now. Yeah, giving them eyeballs is actually pretty creepy. Yeah. This is honestly coming along so nicely now. And I love this guy in the back who just looks like he's absolutely suffering. I think we've got the right mix of colours here, and I think we've got a pretty decent looking, pretty decent looking thumbnail. I keep saying thumbnail. I mean, we are painting the thumbnail, but when I say thumbnail whilst I'm painting the thumbnail, I mean more like the artist's thumbnail, you know what I mean? Just when you zoom out, you see how small it is on screen right now? It should look, that is also what you call the thumbnail as an artist, and that's, just what the image looks like to the person scrolling past, or the person walking past, you know what I mean? Or even when you the first, half a second that you look at it, the thumbnail is the information that you're going to get. So it is really the most important part of the image, in my opinion, is what the image looks like when it's zoomed out to the point where you can just barely make out the details. We might be finished with the blocking and thumbnail here. We should also try some just basic colour abstraction, see what things we can sneak in. Maybe I can sneak in bits of purple. Maybe I can sneak in some oranges even. And that's a big part of, that's just a massive thing that will make your paintings look better and make your paintings look more realistic. Having this wide variety of colour abstraction is, well, it's just going to make your painting look more colourful, right? Because there's just more colours in it. Can't miss out on colour abstraction. Massive trick that will take your art to just new levels. It gives your work that mysterious quality, like someone who doesn't know how to do it looks at it, and even myself, and goes, how did they do that? You know what I mean? That's what that colour abstraction gives your art, is that how did they do that quality? Yeah, we should put a little bit of a highlight. Sorry, I've been sneezing. We should put a little bit of a highlight on this eye here as well. And what I like to do with my highlights, specifically on eyeballs, is I like to have the highlight cross over from the white of the eye to the pupil. It makes it look like your eye has that wet film over it that's going over, the whites of your eyes and your pupils. So we can use just the colour of the moon here and just do some abstract shapes and see how that works out. We're going to have them go brighter as they're passing over the moon as well. We're also going to grab some darker bits and desaturate them a little bit. Those are like the parts of the clouds. They're going to be like the bottom of the clouds, really. One of the fun things about speed painting as well is how you can really start with kind of just blobs of information. Like you can see this guy in the background here, he's just, he's very low details, just a few paint blobs literally, but you'll see by the end of the painting we'll have him a lot more, ironed out. And that's kind of just, that's one of the nice things about speed painting. You can almost start with like the quality of like a child's painting, or a child's drawing. And you've got infinite chance to just sculpt it into exactly what you want by the end. Even if we look at the previous incarnations of this, this was the original idea, and that's kind of what we followed for a time. And this was going to look completely different, but now we've got what we've got. So even your ideas can stretch so far when you speed paint from what you originally, was thinking or had in mind. And I think this is much better than what I was originally envisioning. Just filling in the main character's eyes now. See how this goes. Decided to go for green eyes because that's kind of complementary to red or orange, like the colour the guy is. But also the green is going to have a little bit of a gradient across it, and so is the white, of course. At the bottom of his eyes, darker, maybe a lot darker. Like that. There you go. And now when I put a highlight on there, it's going to look a lot better. Maybe give him a bit more eyebrows, prized eyebrows kind of thing. We're probably starting to really reach, I think we're nearly done now, because we're starting to really reach diminishing returns. And that's when I could work on the painting for another several hours, but would anybody notice? Especially in a YouTube thumbnail, would anyone notice? I mean, these days the thumbnail fades away and starts playing the video pretty quickly, so people really won't get much chance to see the kind of sloppiness of our work here. And that's part of being an artist. Our time is only limited, so you've just got to be efficient with it sometimes. Even if I'd like to sit here for, 12 hours and completely finish this painting, it'd be a lot of work that I could spend, improving other paintings and stuff like that, making more videos. Yeah, I'm going to have to stop myself or I'll go forever. Right, we're going to call this done. This is good enough for a thumbnail. But the last step is just going to be running it through some filters and making it look nice and making sure it looks nice on everyone's screen. Everybody's screen is different. Phone screens are way different to TV screens or computer screens and anything else. You're really trying to balance it so it looks good on every screen. So painting like this, you're very unlikely to get the perfect colour and contrast dynamics, straight off the bat, because you're just painting straight from your head. So it's a good idea to go into our filters, have a look at the levels. Sometimes I do the hue, saturation, brightness first. See what we can do. We're going to try and make this a bit brighter. If anything, you want your image to be brighter, really. Yeah, just a bit brighter, and that way people on phone screens, that's the brightened version. It's almost like we flick the light switch on, and people on dim phone screens, they're going to be able to see a lot better there. And then we're obviously going to go into hue, saturation, brightness. Saturation, a lot of the time I'm going to up the saturation, especially if I've just messed with the levels, because you're going to lose a bit of saturation there. So yeah, so that's our post-process version versus the normal version, and you can see it literally looks like we've just flicked the light switch on. You just want it to look nice, and everybody's screen, you want it to grab attention. So and sometimes you will make it more dull when you want it, so I very much recommend the post-processing stage. So yeah, I'm gonna ship that, and this will be the thumbnail of the video. I have no idea what we're going to do for the next one, but as you've seen, the idea that we have in the start is nothing like the idea that we end up with, so it probably doesn't matter too much. So yeah, thank you for watching. And yes, I did end up in my nightgown. This is actually taking me like 4 days to record because I've been sneezing non-stop for the last like 2 days. So and today, we gave in and the nightgown was put on. Even though it's 30 degrees here in the UK right now, the nightgown has gone on.